What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Hope Shot. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys had a great weekend. I had a great weekend, even though I don't tell my son this, but I went and seen Minecraft, and holy crap, I don't think there's any creativity out there anymore. It was just bad, bro. I was like, are we done here yet? You know? It was not good. If you guys just jumping on, say what's up. Let us know you're here. And Caesar, will you please read the clarity statement?
Who, me? You want me
Yes,
to read?
you.
You're assuming I have it ready to read?
If not, I'm gonna find a new Caesar.
All right, the Hope Shot clarity statement. We here at the Hope Shot are a group of people in recovery spreading inspiration. We come from all different walks of life and pathways of recovery. Our verbiage may be different at times, but we all have one thing in common: recovery as a lifestyle. We support all pathways of recovery. It doesn't matter how you get from A to Z, just get there. And thank you for being a part of our Hope Shot family.
Thanks, Caesar. Appreciate you.
You're welcome, buddy.
It's been a while, man. I haven't heard it from your voice in a while, and I kind of needed that. So I appreciate it. We can go now. All right. Not you, just me. Yeah, so tonight we have our special guest, Felicia. And then we got
What's up,
us.
guys?
You know, we just got us and Felicia. Oh, what? Nate?
What I did? No, I said just us.
It's just us. Oh, yeah. Well, you got to have unmute so I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
So tonight we had Felicia bring the topic, and it's a good one, man, because I think we all can relate to this one way or another. And it definitely depends what our day is going to look like or our life is going to look like. It's changing it. So we're going to be talking about perspective is everything. And I'm going to let Felicia take us in, and she's going to introduce herself a little bit and bring our minds into perspective. Is that it? No, something like that. Sounds
Sure.
good.
Mine.
Yeah, right.
Clear.
Okay.
What's up, guys? I just want to start out first thanking you guys for having me on here. It's an honor and a privilege. I really dig what you guys do. For someone like me who had suffered in silence for so many years, I think recovery out loud is where it's at, helping your friends get sober, and I really have mad respect for what you guys do here, and grateful to be a part of it tonight. And I'm just going to share a little bit of my story. I've struggled with addiction for quite some time. And, back in 2012 is the first time I had tried to get sober. And, I think then I just simply wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to put in the work. I joke now and say I wanted to take the elevator. Like I didn't want to do the steps and put in the work and take a look at myself. And then that ultimately led to another 10 years of hell, and also with that, toxic relationships, which brought on a lot of that stuff. And I think, at the time, you think that's like a match made in heaven, right? Oh, you like that stuff too. And then it takes you to hell and back real quick. And, what I say is, I go to battle with my demons every day, and I can't go to war with anybody else's. And so I had to make the shift change and, take control of my life and my situation. So this time around, ultimately it took me losing everything, including myself, the relationship I had with my family and my kids. And it was a hard run. I've been sober 2.5 years now, but that last 2 years completely broke me. But it takes what it takes. And I went into treatment 2.5 years ago, and not necessarily the ideal that I was accepting that I was going to be sober, and this is how I related to my sponsor, is that I didn't want to feel the pain anymore. I didn't want to carry the pain, and I didn't want to keep hurting the ones that I love. So I knew I needed to do something different. So I had to go in there with an open heart and an open mind to what these people were saying, because, I was defiant by nature, didn't want it, people to tell me what to do. I didn't think I was programmable, But I remember in there, and I was sitting with my therapist, and she said, and this is where the little light bulb went off. She goes, "Are you going to sit in your shit? Are you going to keep sitting in your shit? Or are you going to use your shit as fertilizer and grow?" And I'm like, man, like, why do I like to do that? Like, why do I like to sit in all that mess and that uncomfortability, So that's when I started to shift change. And I'm like, okay, how am I going to look at this? Right? Because all the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, I didn't, man. And I'm here. Right? And so I can't stay in yesterday. Then that only deepens my depression. And then the worries of tomorrow, half of what we worry about doesn't really happen anyway. So, and you can plan and have structure for your life, but, worrying about it does me no good. So that's when I realized, I'm like, oh, they're on to something just for today, living in the now, like what's in front of me. And that's how I look at the situations that happen, because, I love how you guys say life be lifing, and it does it a lot, and it smacks me in the face. And I'm like, all right, how are we going to look at this here? Because really, at first I'm like, woe is me, and why is this happening? But then when I take a deeper look at the life I was living and the choices I was making, here we are, right? So then, adapting a new way of thinking and attitude about it. So Lord knows I needed a new way of thinking, and I definitely needed a new attitude. So like, I feel like when I look at what's happening and I try to change my attitude, that opens the door for the new way of thinking, which leaves that for a different perspective, which brings the solutions and being open to other people's perspectives. And, there you clear out the negative thoughts, you make more room for the positive thoughts, and then here comes the solutions. And, sometimes the solution for me is just simply acceptance, like accepting it for what it is. And, the serenity prayer, and, sometimes you can't change it, but I know what I have to do is put my best foot forward and do the best I can and be like, okay, what is this trying to teach me? See the message in my mess, right? And then, work through it. And I think that the program, I say no gram is like the program, it's the best I ever invested in, and finding a tribe full of people that you can trust, to keep yourself in check. That's huge. And, now turning my pain into purpose. And I think that's what we're all doing here. So, in perspective, it really is everything for me. I turn my I have to's until I get to. Like, I get to go to work today. I that really helps me in everyday life. I get to do these things, and I have my family, I have my kids, I have my job, people can depend on me, and that's huge. And that's all, comes with that shift in perspective. And, I have to remember, because it's not always easy. It's definitely a daily practice, but I have to stay in gratitude for the things I do have, and remember that, and not be so bent on what I don't have. And also, how far I've come, not so much how far I have to go, because I can get stuck in that a lot. So with that, I think I'll pass it to y'all and see what your take on perspective is.
You want to see what our perspective is on perspective? Is that where we're going here?
In life.
I got perspective.
When your life be lifing.
Life be lifing, yo. Well, thank you for coming on tonight, Felicia. It's good to have a fresh person in here with new perspective. And, because people are tired of us sometimes. Actually, it's been a while, so I don't know if they are. They might be after the end of the night. Who knows, But I appreciate your share, and thanks for being here. And we'll just let Caesar take this one.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
he's unmuted, so I figured he just wants to jump right in.
No, I like exactly what I was saying before we went live is like perspective and gratitude kind of flow together for me. And it made me think of, I used to go, well, the rehab that I got sober in, I brought meetings in there for many years after I got sober. And I was talking to some of the guys and we were talking about exactly this topic. And I was like, well, you guys, do you remember? Because I remember when I came in, they let you out from jail. They drive you to this rehab facility and you get to put some normal clothes on. You get a decent meal and you're grateful. You're like, yes, like better food, regular clothes, no lockdowns. I'm semi-free. Then about 2 weeks later, you start going, oh man, and we've already had this meal 3 times. Man, this place is BS with all these rules. And man, this is so lame. And like, why are they bugging me? Why do I got to make my bed? And your perspective shifts and the gratitude dies. You start thinking you deserve more. And you were just the very same things that you were grateful for 2 weeks before. Now everything's a burden and a bother. So I shared that with those guys and they're like, oh crap. Yeah, actually you're right. I was like, yeah, the rules were no big deal in that first week because they're much better than the rules you have in county jail. But now the rules are a problem. They're barking down your neck and this and that. So, it's perspective shifts are super important in recovery because day to day, depending on how like connected I am and how grounded I am, that's like the basis of my perspective. If I get up and I do some readings, I get grateful, I get spiritual, and I walk out the door, it's like a world of opportunity and just awesomeness. I run out the door and like snatch my coffee off the counter and don't do any of those things. And then it's, this job sucks. This is BS, this traffic, this is that, like everything is a bother. It's the same day literally that I had before, but I'm looking at it completely different. I'm looking at it through a lens of selfishness, self-centeredness. Why is everything bothering me? And I'm grateful that I can pause when I do that to myself and go, wait a second. Because I can always take a step back and go, I'm complaining about traffic when I begged, prayed, and pleaded to be able to get my license back. Now I'm driving a company truck and I'm bothered. Driving to the job that I prayed that I would get.
Right.
Like I'm literally complaining about answered prayers and blessings. And then I check myself and I go, oh, and then it shifts back to gratitude because I'm like, man, what the hell do I have to complain about? I'm blessed. But we have that ability sometimes, like your therapist says, like, how long do I want to sit in my shit? How long do I want to be miserable?
Right.
Sometimes it's all day. I mean, if I'm being honest, sometimes it's all day. I just, take it with me and have me a nice crappy day and then go, well, that was enough of that. And I do what I know is best for me and, get back to it. But, things have changed drastically from when I first came in, from even the first couple of years. Like everything was about staying away from a drink or a drug. It's not so much that anymore. It's about behaviors and patterns and trying to be better, trying to open my mouth and talk about my problems before, if I keep them between my ears, they grow into these boogeymen. But if I share them with my friends and I talk about the resentments and I talk about the things that are going on, they diminish. It's like putting them out into the light, the dark boogeyman, as soon as it hits the light, it's like, it's nothing. So that's what helps me shift perspective a lot is I'll just pick up the phone and talk to somebody about what I'm going whatever the resentment or whatever it is that may be going on, it's usually a huge deal in my mind. And as soon as I say it out loud, I go, oh, I'm a whiny little bitch. That sounds ridiculous out loud. Like, I can't believe I've let this ruin my day. So it's just, it doesn't really matter where you are in life. Life be lifing. You know, we are not going to pretend like life's easy. You walk out the front door and there's a million things that can happen that can trip you up. The only thing you can do is arm yourself spiritually, arm yourself with a great fellowship around you, use the tools, don't leave them in the toolbox, you know, and if I do those things, if I do the things that I know I'm supposed to do, which I'm defiant by nature, sometimes I don't use the tools, you know, it's just, all of that doesn't just go away overnight. There's like a running joke of, don't tell me what to do. Like, that's my answer to everything. Don't tell me what to do. No. You can ask me, but don't tell me what to do. I'm still defiant by nature. That's just how I am. But if you ask me, I'm more than happy to, you know. So I feel like probably I'll be dealing with character defects and resentments for the rest of my life. But it's not like some kind of curse. It's not some kind of like, oh my God, I got resentments and they're boogeymen. You know, it's just, what do I want my quality of life to be like? I want to be grateful for what I have. I don't always want to be running off to the next thing. But that's where perspective comes in, because if I slow down and I look at where I was and where I'm standing now, how can I not be grateful? You know, I got out of that rehab with clothes from the indigent closet that they gave me, had like basketball shorts with burn holes in them because they were donated that way, had 60 something dollars and kind of nowhere to go. So I had to go live with my ex, and like, I didn't have a lot of prospects. And you fast forward to where I am now. I mean, like, it's insane how much things can change and how good things can get when I follow the script. And that's kind of what I've been doing for a long time now. I deviate here and there. I get that, you choose to believe, the God smack on the back of my head. Wow, that was a bad day. I don't want to have another one of those. Let me just go. You know, I get, my tolerance for pain is not what it once was. You know, I don't like to be uncomfortable. I want to stay in the sunlight of the spirit. I want to stay feeling good and grateful. I don't want to sit in my shit for a long time anymore. There's just too much beauty in life to sit around bitching and moaning. So that's all I got. Thank you for bringing a really good topic. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Caesar. Thanks for bringing your perspective. I'm just gonna keep word playing here. That's what I do. All right, I'm gonna say what's up with some people. We got Michelle Kemp. Good to see you. Glad you're here. We have my sister Katie. Hey, family. Good to see you, Katie. Tell Kamaya I said hello. And we got Amanda saying, so dang proud of you, Mama.
Hey, Amanda.
My rock bottom recovery, love the gratitude. Yes. And then we have Amanda said, well, life be life and people be people. That's
For
mostly
sure.
that's what we mean by life. It's people be people. Diantha, what's up, Diantha? Good to see you. We got Tony. What's up, Tony? And we got, my sister says, yes, got to check yourself and find that gratitude daily. Yeah. If not, man, it could be a shitty day. So yeah, I mean, perspective. I constantly think about, like, even today, you know, I met with my sponsor, and that's one thing. It's like always staying on top of the things you don't want to do, right? You got to stay on top of that shit, because you know what goes to the wayside first? Stuff that's going to make me better. That's always going to the wayside first. Everything else goes in front of it, like sugar and freaking TV and being lazy and whatever else I like to squirrel on, because I love squirrels. And I always reflect on stuff like, you know, Caesar, we were just talking about a picture I had of me skydiving, and it was so cool, man, to skydive. Like, and to something like that. And to have like I went skydiving when I had like a year and a half clean, and I was tense. I was like, oh, I was like a little looked like a dead rodent. It just got a freaking hit of that rat poisoning. You know what I mean? You found me in the corner, and that's what I looked like coming out of the dang plane because I was so tensed up. Like, I do a lot of things scared. I do a lot of things like I don't know what's gonna happen, but I do it anyways. Because what else are we gonna do? You know what I mean? And everybody's like, I can't believe you went skydiving. I was like, why not? I drive down 19 all day long. You know what I mean? Like, and I really think about that for a minute. We won't go skydiving, but we'll drive a car down 19, scrolling through Facebook. No. But it's true. Like 19 is deadly out there. So even 19 or Little Road in our area, I feel like there's a car accident every freaking day, and there's no rain. There is no rain in sight. So that's a perspective shift. It's like, but I'm afraid to go skydiving. But I'll tell you this, man, like skydiving this time, it was the most freeing moment I've had. I just like completely just like whatever, it's like that surrender action, and I was just like, just free, and what I was free from was all the fear that I accumulated throughout the years of using, all that fear that I had, the being scared of my own shadow, I was so skittish and like, and I had, I was, whatever, paranoid, and I was just like that all the time, so it took me, I was afraid to talk in front of people is mostly it's just because I didn't like who I was, I hated who I was. And so I had to present myself as a person that was like themselves. And so it's hard to talk to people and look at them in the eye and all those things. So I was really like deathly afraid of anything that had to do with talking to people one-on-one or in front of crowds or anything like that. Now, hear me now. Wait, hold on. Even when I started this Hope Shot podcast, it was the most awkward shit in the world. Okay. you want to talk Caesar, you know about awkward.
At the folding table.
Oh my God.
In your living room with the camera staring at us, pre-recorded madness.
And the whole time I'm like, I hope I press record. Oh man, I hope the volume's on.
Next to each other. Yeah, Justin. Yeah, I can relate. You're on not natural at all. Yeah, absolutely.
And here we are.
We do it anyway, right?
You do it anyways. It's just like you got to do it anyways. And hope for the best, right? Hope for the best. And we used to say that going to court, hope for the best, expect the worst, we don't do that much any days, but it's that it's changed the perspective because fear held me back for so long, fear held me back from a lot of opportunities that I missed, and it's missed opportunities, and so there's things I like throughout this whole process of recovery. It's just been nonstop facing fear. Because that is what we need to do in order to grow. We have to face the fear. Because if not, man, I'm going to stay stuck in 2000 freaking, whatever, 1999, where I was for a long time, same people, same places, same things. And I'm wondering why I'm not growing. We have to outgrow some things in order to get new things, right? And that's new perspective, new mindset, new environment, new couch. I don't know what else, but something like that. New couches, a couple pillows, some nice ones. You can't be sleeping on the same bed forever. You're going to be in a dip. Just got
new gold.
Yes. Gold? Did you say gold? Oh, what'd you say? Goals. Thank you. I was like, wait, gold. Yeah, new goals, and
new gold fronts.
Yeah. And every year it's going to be a new me. As long as I'm working on new things, like especially goals, just like Caesar said, working on things that's going to involve Justin, because Justin was, still that 12-year-old scared little boy when he first got up in here in 2018, and once I put those away, now I can actually do something to evolve into the person I'm supposed to be, as long as I can, face those fears. And and not let the world beat me down because I have a messed up perception of what life is supposed to be, you know? And if when I go out each day, you know, I try not to have the same lens I did yesterday, because I could carry the same crap that I had from yesterday if I had a bad day into today and ruin today all over. You know, that's why the gratitude is so important first thing in the morning. That's why trying to change the way I do things. What kind of music am I listening to? Am I listening to freaking nonstop death metal, or do I have some sort of balance? Yeah, I know, Caesar. I know. But I listen, I started this mix on Apple Music. It is chill mix, today's chill mix. So I have this now. I have a ritual when I get up, because I don't want to get up sometimes, you know. But I have a ritual now because I don't want to get up. So my alarm goes off my phone, my light goes on, and then the light goes on, the fan turns off, and the TV turns on to music. And it's today's chilled mix. And it's just this nice soothing sound to wake up to. And because, you know, sometimes waking up to an alarm that's screaming at you and having multiple every 5 seconds because I don't know how to get up kind of sucks. But when I put that music on and just have it play and it's just playing, it helps me kind of go into the day a little bit better than just, oh my God, it's my last alarm, I gotta go. And it's just something I found that works for me. So I'm not so chaotic, because I can start off the day with just total anxiety and, you know, and just not be okay during the day and just ruin everything. So that's helped me a bunch. Not to mention, I also freaking started doing some other things to try to help my physical fitness, because I like to freaking get too involved into the bad stuff. Like we always talk about, you know, what goes first? It's all the good stuff that happens for you, you know, step work, sponsorship, working out, eating right, you know, all the things that are going to be good for me, I go out the window. So I have to get it back in the gear. You know, you have to recognize that in myself, and then I get it back. And that's what I've been doing this last few weeks, is trying to get some sort of normalcy. And man, it's hard sometimes, especially when you're just like, man, I just want to eat. That's where my feelings are, you know, like I put down the drugs and alcohol and I picked up the fork, you know, it's like, man, and I love food. I absolutely love it. I love ice cream. I love all the bad stuff, and I got to stop it. So, and I had to pump the brakes on myself, and I did. It's been like 3 weeks. I'm doing okay, people. Doing okay. So thanks for letting me share.
Freaking love you, man. You got to shift your perspective on that food.
I do, man. But so what I did was, I used to have really good results with keto and like carnivore type diet, right? I had really good, I love doing it. But the only thing is, I really love ice cream. So, you know, but I make my own ice cream. I've been making my own ice cream. And so I was like, you know what, let's just try it. Let's just do it. So I've, you know, started doing it. But I'll tell you this, you know, I talk about this a lot, the pendulum swinging. I could swing that thing real good over to the healthy side too, and make it all messed up. So like this weekend, I recharged my carbs. I ate one meal with carbs, because like I haven't been eating no carbs, but I love this diet because I can eat bacon and I can eat eggs and cheese. And I love bacon and eggs. I love it. Like, it's so good. It's like candy to me now.
Breakfast in general is pretty badass.
Dude, I'm telling you, dude, I can eat that stuff day and night, all day, every day, no problem. Yeah.
Struggle's real. Yeah.
And we all can relate to that a little bit.
Trading one for another, man.
That's it, man.
I want to hear Nate's perspective on all this.
Nate's perspective on perspective.
Yeah.
What up, y'all? No, thank you, Felicia, for the topic. Thanks, Justin and Caesar, both great shares, man. It's I was thinking, you know, Felicia shared a little bit about what I would talk about. Caesar shared a little bit what I talked about. Justin shared a little bit what I was going to talk about. So now
Bacon and eggs.
What came to me, what put on my heart just a second ago, actually, was there's a part in the book I read says, like, we our whole we've had a rearrangement of how we think, act, and way we think, act, and feel, right? And I think my most radical perspective change, there are two things really, and the two like cornerstones of like my current life and my recovery life, and which is was a shift in perspective of that finally accepting who and what I am, right? I couldn't identify as an addict or an alcoholic. I couldn't wrap my head around it, because that meant that I couldn't do those things anymore. Like I knew that if I admit this is who I am, that there was work to be done after that, which was terrifying, because you guys told me this is an abstinence-based program. I'm like, get the fuck out of here, man. What are you talking about? I can't do nothing. I can't smoke a little weed. I can't take my Xanax my doctor prescribes me. I can't go to a concert and, drop a couple of tabs and, these are, I can't do anything. And it wasn't so much like, maybe it was the feelings I got from it, because, towards the end, those feelings were long gone. It was strictly medicinal, there'd be some euphoric moments, but they were very fleeting and brief. But it was you wanted to take away the only thing that made me feel okay with who I was and what I had become. You wanted to take away my solution, right? And for a guy like me, that was terrifying, because, it was the only thing that was keeping me alive. It was the only thing that made me not want to die. That brief moment, that brief respite of like, okay, I can breathe, right? And because when he took that stuff away from me, man, it was a madhouse in this head of mine. I was terrified. All the memories came back. I was racked with guilt and shame and insecurity and fears, and I didn't want to. I wasn't in it for the, I'm a instant gratification type guy. So, I knew that letting go of that solution meant I had to find another one. And it was probably the biggest lie I ever sold myself, because what I discovered in my shift of perspective was that, finally accepting responsibility, accepting, conceding to my innermost self just who and what I was, it freed me. It was like on the other side of that which I resist, there lied my greatest blessing, because it got me off the hook. I was like, just shifting my perspective. Like, I can't do these things. Right. And then something clicked inside me. I can't use anything successfully. I can't do one thing without doing 20 others and ending up in prison or in a hospital bed. Right. And that, like, that realization, that shift, right, towards, just that understanding of who and what I was. I have this thing which prevents me from ever using or drinking or doing anything like that successfully. And that was a huge revelation. Like, I'm like, okay, now what? Right. And which kind of like segues me into the, that second radical shift was like a shift towards a higher power. Like, and I couldn't even call it a higher power at that point, but I was so desperate and pathetic and broken and beaten. And I have a great example of how this manifested in my life, which proved to me that I was going in the right direction. So, I'm being carted off from my childhood bedroom in handcuffs, grown man, 39 years old, going out of his childhood room. And, my mom's sitting there, a few months left to live, like, are you done, Nate? And I'm like, I am. I'm done. I promise. And right then and right there, I was out of ideas. I was out of schemes. I was out of plans, and I shifted. I made the most slightest shift towards like that higher power, which I call God today. Oh, Luca. And I was that shift, right? And it says in the book I read, it says, you know, even if we express a willingness, right? Just express a willingness. And I didn't even really know I was expressing it, but I was, because I was like, what do I do? Show me. I surrender. I'm done. Right. And in that shift, however small it was, everything changed, because I had been in this same situation, same predicament, going to jail, probably going to prison, you know, countless times before. And when I got to jail, you know, I turned down the detox meds, you know, and when, if you're like me, when I got to jail, it was like cops versus robbers, man. It was like, fuck these guys. This man's trying to keep me down. This judge is going to put me in prison. I'm fixing to fight people, you know, disrespect me with the slightest, you know, word or whatever. Look, you know, I'm fighting just to solidify my territory, and so no one tries me. And I'm like, I shift into this monster, right? And I got to jail, and I was completely at peace. I was completely at peace. The cops, the correctional officers, I said, man, these guys are just doing their jobs. You know, they're trying to go home. They're trying to come in here, make a check, go feed their families. They're trying to keep us safe. You know, the other guys, I'm like, look at these sick. They're just sick, you know? And this, I didn't have like this. I wasn't in the steps yet. I was in jail. And I was more free than I had ever been in my entire life, because I had made that shift and something just broke open inside of me, and I was seeing through a different lens. And from that moment on, everything shifted in my entire life. You know, what was imminent prison became treatment. You know, my mom, they said, you know, your she's getting put on hospice. I'm in treatment. And, you know, that here's a shift in perspective. I'm like, you know, I used my mom's cancer and my mom's sickness for years on end to justify my using and my mess. Right. And she passed, and I'm like, okay, how do I honor her? You know, how do I honor this beautiful woman who just fought for me and saw something in me long before I could see it myself? You know, I dig deeper into this deal. I try harder. I stay right where I am. You know, and a few months later, my daughter, you know, she gets adopted. I lose custody forever, potentially, you know, and I'm like, here's another, these, man, the only excuse I needed, my trigger was I woke up, you know, like these were really great catalysts to spring me forward into a real shit show. But my perspective changed. I understood at a core level that I couldn't do this thing successfully anymore, and that I needed this power in order to accomplish that. Right. And I wasn't even really connected to it yet. You know, I didn't even do the work. Right. And, oh shit, maybe I have 3 radical perspective changes, because here comes the other one, is that if I had no idea that these 12 sentences on a wall would transform my life, I was like, get the fuck out of here, man. This shit is corny. You know, you guys are lame. You're talking about this stuff, and I'll be damned if working through this thing, you know, and we're talking about perspective. How do I get perspective? I need to get unblocked from this process, because I am filled with all this mess. There is no way for me to have a direct line to any sunlight of the spirit, let alone a higher power. Nothing. I am consumed with darkness, right? And it's darkness. The only way it can be expelled is through this process. Let me not say the only way, but the only way for a guy like me to experience, you know, a perspective change, a shift, what have you, I needed to get unblocked, and I needed to learn how to navigate personal relationships, not just, you know, with others, but mainly with myself, you know, and then ultimately build a relationship with a higher power, my God. And then ultimately, you know, I get to experience these promises. You know, talk about perspective change. I can cease fighting anything or anyone. I was at ends with anybody that came in my path. anybody. I was, whatever was going on externally affected me internally, right? And I have this perspective change that, hey, guess what? Spiritual axiom. The problem is me, and in that realization, in that truth, I cannot be disturbed by anything you do. Do I get it perfect? Negative. I still am affected by external circumstances, but very, very rarely am I influenced to the extent where it's going to, disturb my whole day. This program, this process is all about changing perspective, because I come in here and I see through the lens, Caesar said it, of selfishness and self-centeredness. I am afraid what I'm going to lose. I'm afraid that you're going to take what I have. And I'm afraid that what I think you're thinking of me, like all this, I am controlled, and my every action is dictated by how somebody else is going to react to it, and this program, these steps, this beautiful relationship, and the nurturing and enlarging and enriching upon that relationship gives me complete freedom, not freedom in the material sense, but freedom to react to life differently, to be at peace with no matter what is going on around me, to have peace, with being by myself, peace with, decisions I make, owning who I am, as an individual in my relation to the outside world, and, so me, yeah, that's the radical perspective changes was absolutely 100%, finally accepting who and what I was, knowing what I had, knowing my disease and the severity and the implications of having this disease, because until I know that, how the fuck can I ever address it, right? And then ultimately, that shift towards this power, man. This power, this God in my life has absolutely transformed how I see the world. It is what a gift. And then ultimately knowing that there are some things that I have to do on a daily basis, not, and it's not so much on my end, just working the steps in my personal life, which is super vital and important, but it's also, sharing this with a guy that doesn't know anything about it and giving this thing back to somebody else. It has allowed me to, experience freedom, in a way that I never dreamed possible for a guy like me. It's allowed me to be able to be in a healthy relationship with my fiance. It has allowed me to pray. I just want my kids back. I just want the opportunity to see my girls, man. I prayed and I prayed and I prayed, and God gives me these beautiful stepkids, man, and have that perspective to understand that that's my answered prayer. Here you go, be a father. And I get to be a father in this home, like I could sit in my shit. I have some things to sit in some shit about, but what for? Well, how free do I want to be today, man? And that's perspective I take on a daily basis. That's why I'm so adamant and so, regimented in how I approach my spiritual life. And, I do certain things on a daily basis so I can keep my perspective, because like Caesar said, man, if I don't do these things, I go mad. I'll start thinking that I've accomplished this. Look what I've done. I didn't, I was a willing participant in my recovery, but without God, I have nothing. Without this program, I have nothing. And that's the perspective change, switching from self-reliance to God reliance. And in that transition, my entire life transforms. Thank you guys for having me and allowing me to speak on this tonight. Thank you, Felicia, for being on. Yes. And yeah, grateful for this topic, man. Good stuff.
Can I piggyback a little bit off what you just said?
Of course.
Okay. So, I was just thinking when Nate was talking, and you guys had a lot of great things to say. And, I think it was important for me to mention this. So I remember when I first came in and was trying to get sober, and the first time I met with my sponsor, and she told me she has 18 years. And I remember thinking, I got to do this the rest of my life. Like, what do you mean? Like, because she was very active and very involved. And, I think in the beginning, I looked at it as such a punishment, right? To get, so like, why can't I just be like normal people? Why can't I, have a drink and do this and do that? Well, too much ain't enough for me. And obviously it just doesn't work that way. So, now I look at it as such a gift and such a proud choice to live this life and to wake up without the obsession. Like, there's these moments like where we get up and go to the track with my son, he rides dirt bikes, and like I'll have these moments of clarity where I don't have to worry about getting well or before we do anything. My kids come first, and these are the gifts of this life. My son today telling me, I was taking care of him, how he wasn't feeling well, and he's like, you're a good mom, you're doing a good job. And I'm like, oh, like it makes every hard day worth it. And to be able to give it away. And I have this commitment at the treatment center, and man, every time I walk in that door, no matter how long it's been, I feel their pain. I feel the pain, and it hits so close to home. And it's such an honor to be in such a good group of people. You guys really make getting sober look cool, and so I think that's a big thing. People seeing people like, us in our age trying to get their shit together, because for so long we're about, partying is the cool thing to do, And I'm so grateful, speaking on fear, like acronyms come to mind. Like I used to be like F everything and run. Like I will run fast. Like I get uncomfortable and I'm like, get me out of here. And for so long, numbing everything that was uncomfortable, I come to the realization that you're not only numbing out that, you're numbing out all the joy in life. So any room for being happy is not there. You just become this shell of emptiness. And God for me, like there was evidence that there was a higher power. I could have been in debt or in prison or many other things, but in situations I'm like, wow, like that's God seeing me through these situations. And I felt like, I think for a long time I wasn't worthy of a forgiving and loving God, or even being able to be a mother again, or having these relationships. I was stuck in that guilt and shame. But you guys in the rooms were like the middleman. You guys reconnected me to the higher power. And I'm so grateful for that, because I try to take my will back a lot of times a day, but when I can, when I give it to him and let it ride and come at it is, life is just so much better. So, but just thanks again, you guys, for letting me be here.
The rooms is the plug.
Yes, exactly.
The plug. Right, Caesar?
Yeah. No, just when Nathan was saying, we start thinking like we really did something, like I led a meeting this morning at my church, and we're doing spiritual principles, and we did humility, and like just the way the steps are laid out, it's laid out so you have to be humble. I didn't do it. Like just like what you said, Nate, like, I did the footwork, but I have some pretty clear evidence of all the times that I tried this deal without a fellowship and without God. Like when I tried it on my own, and that was me just white knuckling and going, oh man, I'm going to stay sober. And then the first time the phone rings, I was like, or not, and I took off, but it's beautiful the way that it's laid out, because you can see the power at work. Never invited the power in, never successful at sobriety. Invited the power in, now I'm successful. And then every once in a while I get off the path that I really think I did something again. And then I go around a newcomer and I start reading this literature and I go, oh yeah, I didn't do anything. Like, let me humble myself again and say thank you and get back to what I know is good for me, man. And like, you know, I need those lessons because we have busy lives. Like it's life gets busy, work gets chaotic. We all have families and homes to take care of and all these things. And those things can start to take precedence over the recovery. And then we start to suffer. This guy told me many years ago in a rehab, you have to put your recovery first. And I didn't understand. I was like, that sounds so lame. Family first. It's always family first. It's not. It's recovery first. Because if I don't have my recovery, I've also got some more clear evidence that says I won't be there for my family. That family will not be important anymore if I don't have my recovery. Mm-hmm. And he also said, if you put your recovery first, everything else will be first class. And like, he had all these little cheesy things that I hated. Like, oh, that guy was so right. Like, just about everything. And I remember those things. And the last one that he used to always tell me is, you know, we say life be lifing, but he would say be flexible. You know, don't be so set in your routine. You can plan your day, you can plan your future, but you got to be flexible. And he'd point at this one guy and he'd go, you guys are from Florida, so you'll get this. That guy over there, he's like an oak tree, right? He's big, he's strong, but he's stubborn. What happens when a hurricane comes by? The oak trees always blow over and the roots pull out because they're so stiff that they can't go against the wind. He goes, you guys got to be like palm trees. Watch the palm trees in a storm. They sway, they bob, they weave, but they don't fall over. And that's like, I apply that to my life today. I can plan my day out beautifully. Probably ain't going to go that way. And I just be flexible and I got to bob and weave with it. And then everything's all right. But the moment that I start getting rigid with that, my planning, because I have to remember it's God's plan. It's not my plan. You know, I really like to make plans, but they're not always God's plans. So if I stay flexible throughout the day and kind of know, like, you know, my calendar looks great today. It's probably not going to look great by 2 p.m. You know, that's just the way it is. Go into it with a realistic expectation. I can have a good day. And that's a perspective shift. So thank you for bringing such a good topic. And, you know, thank you for bringing us together, Justin. Appreciate you.
Yeah, man, I think we all need a little bit of perspective change. You know, because that's what's going to seal the deal. You know, as soon as my perspective shifted or my perception of what life really is, stop playing the victim card so much, man. I love to take that thing back every once in a while. And I mean, I'm like, yeah, I'm mistreated. I am, you know, they don't take me seriously. I love that one because it's so familiar to be in that victim mode. Like I'm getting injustice up in this thing, you know, and it's easy. It's really easy to get back in there. I get there real quick, man. Cause either I'm overworked, I'm working myself to death, or I'm not eating right, or I don't get into gratitude enough, or I'm not working on myself, or I'm trying to do stuff. And listen, I could also, man, make working on myself overly, you know what I mean? I could do it too much, man, where it becomes a drug, you know? I got to find that balance, man. Am I putting things in the right buckets? Do I have everything kind of divvied out? And sometimes that balance gets off. And where do I feel it? Let me get that victim card back real quick, you know? And I like to parade around town. You know, with this victim card, you know, it's for real though. You know, it's rough life out here, man. Life be life, and I get victim-y, you know.
And I think, you know, and I think Caesar kind of touched on it, but like it's so wild that the same exact people, same exact drugs, same exact life events are all going on around us right now. Yet we see them completely different at this point. They have zero, let me not say zero, but they have very minimal effect on our daily lives. You know, the same thing that ruled our world completely is right down the street, right down the road in the neighborhood. We pass it every day. It's around us every day. We deal with it every day, yet we are unaffected by it. You know, it's not life that changed. It's us. The way we see the world has completely shifted, man. What a miracle.
Yeah, no, that's it. We have it's unaffected to does not affect us anymore. And it's so true, man. It's like what used to bother me, the person that used to bother me, and I changed it, and it doesn't bother me as much.
Right.
You know. So yeah, I love it, man. This is a good topic. Great stuff tonight. All right, guys. Well, that's it for tonight.
Wait. Read that last comment because that's fire. Read Tone's comment.
Tony's?
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. You want to read it?
I just asked you to read it.
All right, fine. All right. Them cheesy sayings are set. I want to do that. Come on, Felicia. You got to get up there. You look over it. And like, this is a nice comment. Them cheesy sayings are said so many damn times for a reason. Things become unbearably real when you start hearing them in your head after being back out there. And being back out there because recovery wasn't the first priority. Then I'm sitting there wishing I had put it first. This was an amazing episode, Felicia. Thank you for your experience, strength, and hope.
Fire. Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Yes. It's almost like it's haunting you out there once you're back out there, you know?
It's really good to see him here, by the way.
Yeah, it is good to see you, Tony. All right, guys. Well, thank you all for being here, man. Thank you for commenting in the comments. We're doing this once a month, but I do have a bonus round. I'm gonna have Tommy. Tommy is going to be sharing his story.
Our Tommy?
Yes, our Tommy. In 2 weeks, it's going to be 28th, I think. No, 27th. 27th. We're gonna have Tommy sharing his story, and I will put it up in this week. We'll be putting up the episode so you guys can click going, and then we will share his story. Man, it's gonna be a great story.
I don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss that.
Don't want to miss it.
Talk about a miracle of transformation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So anyways, well, you guys have a great night. We love y'all, man, and we'll see you next time on the Hope Shot. Sorry, Felicia, that.
Oh, I got to update my computer.
Oh my gosh. That's it. We're done here. All right. That's that. See y'all. Oh, wait. Oh, damn.
Oh, wait.
Wait. No.